Hi everyone. Arguably BMW's most controversial design element since the introduction of the separate fender rear end on the 4th generation 7 Series almost 20 years ago now, the vertical grille treatment adopted by the 4 Series has indeed widely divided opinions. And, yes, it is a notable shift in design lineage, giving the new 2021 model a direct visual connection with the 2000C and 2000CS models launched in 1965. A much bolder frontal appearance that, on the coupe model driven here, is combined with a rather sleek two-door body whose proportions and detailing are reminiscent of that adorning the larger 8 Series. But, like it or loathe it, there is more to the second-generation model than its controversial styling alone. BMW says it has conceived the new 4 Series, the G22 as it is known internally in coupe guise, to act as a more distinctive standalone model in its own right and with greater exclusivity than before. And this is not only reflected in its controversial appearance and noticeably improved quality. In dimensions, too, the new model shifts further away from the model it replaces. Length, width and height have increased at 4,768 mm, 1,852 mm and 1,383 mm, giving the new model greater presence in the metal, and a more sporting form than either the model it replaces or any one of the 5 generations of the 3 Series coupe that preceded it. The new 4 Series shares its Sklar platform and electric architecture with the latest 7th generation 3 Series. Its wheelbase has grown by 41 mm to 2,851 mm, giving it longer overhangs both front and rear. As part of efforts to provide it with a significantly more sporting feel, it also adopts tracks that have been increased by 28 mm at the front and 18 mm at the rear over its predecessor at 1,575 mm and 1,611 mm. Crucially, given BMW's assertion that it is now a more driver-oriented offering with more authentically dynamic properties than before, the new model's center of gravity has also been reduced by 21 mm compared to the first-generation 4 Series on a model-for-model basis. This has been achieved partly through a new material mix, with aluminium now used for the bonnet, front wings, doors and front suspension. Further changes are centered around a stiffening of the body structure compared to that of the 3 Series. To achieve this, BMW has fitted the 4 Series with a new shear panel within the front bulkhead, as well as a newly designed strut across the front suspension towers and an additional A-frame support at the front of the engine bay. Together, they are claimed to significantly increase its stiffness. Inside, the new 4 Series receives a familiar-looking layout with the latest evolution of BMW's layered dashboard from the 3 Series, complete with standard 12.3-inch digital instrument and 10.3-inch infotainment displays, the latter of which can be operated either via standard rotary controller or touch commands, as well as optional speech and gesture controls. Overall, the interior features much higher standards of material and overall finish than that of the old model. That's all in keeping with the German carmaker's efforts to not only provide it with a more sporting feel, but a higher level of perceived luxury as well. The driving position is quite different to that of the 3 Series by way of a more heavily angled windscreen and lower mounting of the front seats, which in combination with the multifunction steering wheel offers generous adjustment. There's also a belt carrier, which motors out from the B-pillar as you enter the car to ease overall entry. While you're never going to buy the new 4 Series for its accommodation, it now offers greater space up front than the old model. There's also claimed to be more room in the rear, too. Though while the individual rear seats are set quite low, the more exaggerated curvature of the roof means rear seat headroom is now quite limited. Boot space, meanwhile, has been reduced by 5 liters at 440 liters. Overall, there are 6 different second-generation 4 Series coupe models with a choice of 4 different engines. Included is a base turbocharged 2.0-liter 4-cylinder petrol unit with 135 kilowatts and 300 Nm of torque in the $70,900 420i, and 190 kilowatts and 400 Nm in the $88,900 430i, both of which come as standard with rear-wheel drive. All featuring 48-volt mild hybrid functions and standard 4-wheel drive xDrive, start with the turbocharged 2.0-liter 4-cylinder delivering 140 kilowatts and 400 Nm in the 420d xDrive. It is the M440i xDrive that heads the new range, and it has 35 kilowatts more than the previous 440i at 275 kilowatts. Its turbocharged 3.0-liter 6-cylinder is certainly no stranger, having already appeared in various new BMW models in recent times, including the M340i xDrive, with which the headlining 4 Series also shares its 8-speed torque converter-equipped automatic gearbox, multi-plate clutch 4-wheel drive system, and electronically controlled rear-end differential. It is the inherent smoothness and outright willingness to rev that marks out the M440i xDrive engine. However, its low-speed pickup in taller gears and strapping mid-range flexibility are equally as impressive, too. As with the diesel engines, the European spec top-of-the-line petrol unit driven at launch receives 48-volt mild hybrid properties. This provides the scope for electric boosting via the starter generator, with an additional 8 kilowatts unleashed under acceleration, as well as functions such as engine off coasting and brake energy recuperation in Eco Pro mode. With 500 Nm of torque and a range of revs between 1900 and 5000 revolutions per minute, it is both wonderfully rounded and engaging at the same time, delivering exceptionally strong in-gear qualities under acceleration together with truly relaxed part throttle cruising qualities. BMW official performance claims put the 0 to 100 km/h time at a very tidy 4.5 seconds, and quotes the same sprint time for aus-spec vehicles. Top speed is nominally limited to 250 km/h. It's not only the engine's sheer drivability and performance that impress, though. With combined cycle consumption of between 6.8 and 7.1 liters/100 km and average CO2 emissions of between 155 and 163 grams/km on the WLTP test cycle, it is also remarkably economical when driven with fuel saving in mind. The praise continues with the gearbox, which operates with great efficiency to extend the efforts of the engine. Whether casually swapping ratios at low revs or performing shifts close to the 6,800 revolutions per minute ignition cutout in manual steptronic mode via the steering wheel paddles, it is always smooth and fast, contributing in no uncertain terms to the driving experience. There are three main driving modes: Eco Pro, Comfort, and Sport. A fourth adaptive mode that combines all three depending on the driving conditions can also be called upon. New to the 4 Series is an additional sprint function. It switches the car directly into sport mode when you pull the left-hand shift paddle forward for longer than 1 second for more efficient overtaking. The suspension retains the same design as that used by the 3 Series, with an aluminium-intensive McPherson strut layout up front and a 5-link arrangement at the rear, though it has been given its own unique kinematic properties, and the 4 Series also gets greater camber on the front wheels. Another key development is the adoption of BMW's lift-related dampers, which feature both main and auxiliary springs, as well as hydraulic bump stops. These progressively increase pressure within the damper under compression, while progressively adjusting the rebound properties. The M440i xDrive, however, receives its own uniquely tuned M Sport suspension with electronically controlled adaptive dampers. The standard wheels and tires start at 17-inch in diameter and increase to 19-inch in combination with an optional M Sport Package Pro, which also brings the 225/40 and 255/35 profile Michelin Pilot Sport 4 tires. The 4 Series is easy to place on the road. Fully befitting its sporting brief, it's engagingly fleet-footed and quite incisive in its actions. The variable rate sport steering used by the M440i xDrive is suitably direct off-center, giving the new BMW urgent turn-in qualities. It's also more feelsome than that of the old model, and it imparts greater feedback, too. BMW's efforts to lower the crucial center of gravity can be felt in the way the 4 Series scythes through corners with greater enthusiasm and a greater level of calmness than its predecessor. There's a heightened sense of overall dynamic prowess that's not only rooted in its firm damping, but its inherent balance, which is quite outstanding. Although the M440i xDrive uses BMW's four-wheel drive xDrive system as standard, its variable apportioning of drive is such that it feels distinctively rear-wheel biased in dry conditions. With the electronically controlled M Sport differential also working to vary the drive between each individual rear wheel, it delivers outstanding grip and traction. The additional security and confidence it instills in the driver on wet roads makes it well worth consideration. BMW's efforts to provide the 4 Series with a more sporting character haven't come at the expense of ride. With the adaptive dampers of the M Sport suspension used by the M440i xDrive set to comfort mode, there's mild restlessness and the odd thump on less than smooth road surfaces around town. However, the action of the springs and adaptive dampers is exceptionally well controlled. Together, they quickly eliminate all but the most extreme of impact shocks. At higher speeds on the open road, the ride is even more resolved, providing the new 4 Series with a fittingly purposeful but highly comfortable character. In combination with low levels of wind noise and tire roar, this makes it a formidable long-distance proposition. The 2021 M440i xDrive sets a high standard of performance, though ultimately it will be the milder versions upon which its sales success will hinge. It's one whose clear purpose and heightened dynamic properties make it a very convincing and entertaining proposition. Thanks for watching.